My name is Geraldine Barclay King. I am the daughter of Gerald Samuel Barclay and Beatrice Barclay. My paternal grandmother and grandfather are Anthony Barclay and Mary Jackson. The ancestors on my paternal grandfather's side came from Barbados, and they jumped on that Cora and went on to Liberia with a number of other families. And today, I'm here in Rhode Island as a descendant of Anthony Barclay by way of Barbados to Rhode Island. I did not meet my grandfather. However, I think I did meet him, but I was too young to remember him. And the one thing that sticks out about my grandfather is the fact that he was so welcoming. He took care of his kids and he took care of other kids. So I think they even have the Barclay compound, and there's a lot of family members that was extended through that school and the compound that they had. So just from that just tells me he was an individual that wanted to make sure he helped his community and was there for those. I just know my father was not abandoned, and he still had a relationship with his dad. And I have a relationship with my dad. And I think because of what he picked up from his dad, he carried that on to his kids. So to this day, we're still close to my dad. My dad, Gerald Barclay, actually was named after, Barclay is actually named after his great-grand uncle, which was also Samuel Barclay, who was on that boat leading to Liberia from Barbados. My dad, his background is a mechanical engineer. So he worked on many cars and many trucks, and the one thing that sticks out about my father is that he always put us first, and he was always there. He's just like a little small frame, gentle soul. I don't know what else to say, but I just knew that he was just that man that I needed in my life, and has always been consistent. He was there to take care of my children when they were born, and he's just patient. You don't find too many people patient nowadays, but he was just very patient and nurturing. You'll see a lot of pictures of him holding his grandkids when they were born, and he was always next to me. So right now he's in Rhode Island with me now, but he is visiting Liberia. My dad has a very soft and a strong passion for his country. He is constantly trying to go back. Speaking of that, he just left not too long ago because he just needs to go back. Growing up in Liberia, I was born in the 70s. I was actually Liberia's Independence Day baby. So he wanted a little girl, and he had two boys, and he's been waiting and waiting for this little girl to come. And of course, my mom is pregnant, and I'm due in July to come to this world. And she went and bought her goat. She bought all of her things ready for the festivities. My dad get off of work. He's getting ready for the holidays. This is the stories now they're telling me, and I'm cracking up. He's ready to receive me, and he went to go take his colleagues out for, celebration before the holiday. And he said he got so drunk, he never made it into the house. They had to go look for him on the day my mom is in labor, and he's in his car sleeping, saying that he did not want to wake her up, so he just decided to stay in the car. So we just laugh about that moment where he's been waiting all these years to finally get his little girl. And, and I came on Liberia's Independence Day on July 26th. He said to me when I opened my shop, I said, oh, I've got this item. How much would you pay for that? So he gave me a price. And I was like, oh, that's kind of low for this item. He said, listen, a nickel, he said a small nickel is better than a slow nickel is better than a fast dime. And I said, Ah, okay. I know what that means. Okay, I got it. So, in other words, don't be in such a haste to get that money, the bigger pot of the money, but try to utilize the small blessings that you get from the lower amount that you get. So I remember that when I'm starting to price my items in the shop. It's like, okay, Jerry, don't go too high. Try to stay low. And it's always good. You'll get more sales. It's slower in the total revenue, but you'll get a bigger bang at the end. So my happiest moment was, there's several of them, but the fact that he's always there. So I remember being a young girl and I was heading to school. I had a lot of bushy hair, and my mom and my dad were in a breakup moment, and I ended up staying with him, and he had to comb my hair. So having a guy struggling to put your hair in one ponytail, and I think I wore one ponytail for the longest time ever, and he was every morning sitting there trying to brush it into the one ponytail. You don't really find too many dads doing that part. So that's like a fond moment that I will forever cherish, that he did that. My dad's dedication, loyalty impacted me to just be more of a family person. Put family first, but of course God first. Put your family. My mom, her creativity, added that little spice to my life, and she's very creative. So having those two components infused just allowed me to live life, and don't be afraid to do whatever that your heart desires. So I've always just done what I needed to do, with or without the tribe, if you want to call it. And I don't ever have to look back and have regrets to say I should have, could have done that. So I am a risk taker. I do go out on a limb and get it done. There are some things that I noticed growing up that I didn't approve of, and that was my motivation to get past that. So sometimes you can sit there and focus on the negative, but that's not getting you far. So I just pause and say, I'm going to take that negative and make it into a positive, and make it, moving forward, the life, it's just going to get a little bit better by using that an example of what not to do. So, and that has helped me stay and remain grounded, keep it real, and always remember where you're from and your roots. And my mom is like a community person. She's always at every single funeral, very supportive, always giving, has a big heart, as well as my dad. But he's more of a low key, but my mom is more of a high key, but she's there. And always giving food, using food as her way of telling you how much she loves you. So I have a bachelor's degree in hospitality management with a concentration on, within travel tourism. My career background focuses more on fund development, event management, and marketing and some sales. So I take all of that and now I have infused it into opening up a brick and mortar retail shop that focuses on the African inspired gifts, fashion, home decor, and I use it as an education platform for those who needs that reconnecting with their roots. Mary's Bluffing Boutique, which is located in Rhode Island, Woonsocket, Rhode Island, and it's currently just turned 1 year old, and we're celebrating 1 year in business in the heart of the global pandemic. What was I thinking? But I wanted to bring positivity when things were not at its best. So I use bluffing, which is a Liberian slang, to empower those in my community. Come and bluff with me, people. Actually, when I was growing up, I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a math teacher, to be exact. because I enjoyed math. I love math, and I just wanted to pursue that. So I did do a little bit of accounting, bookkeeping in that world, and then I decided, no, this is not for me. And it wasn't until later on in my career was when I actually shifted into what I'm currently doing now. But it was more, which I had identified as hospitality. I didn't really know too much about the industry, but I've always been doing. My mother's have always been cooking. My brother's always hosting events. He's doing videos and all of those things, not knowing those are all the hospitality world. And that's what gives me joy, where I am selected to provide the overall visual of somebody, of what they're thinking. I'm able to execute that. And you can take the expertise and the skills, and they're all transferable. But the travel industry was not even what I really wanted, to be honest. It was just doing event was what my passion was. But doing event from a corporate standpoint. So if someone has a product they've just developed, I'm able to take their product and present it to the world in a different way. So I use it's called event management. So I'm the one who's taking their products out into the industry and using the platform to promote their products. So that was what my background was focused on in the corporate world. And also from a nonprofit perspective, most companies have to do fundraising. So I am selling their causes to other people. So I'm packaging their cause and saying, hey, this is the reason why you can support, or how you can support this organization. So nonprofit as a product development, fund development individual, whereas in the for-profit world, it's more sales and marketing, but you're focusing more on the event side of things. The qualities to building a successful business is treat it like a business. If you're going to go hard for another organization or another company, use that same drive and passion for yours. Loyalty, consistency, and professionalism is, I would say, the top keys. But also the other thing that we also have to keep in mind is utilize your strengths. Don't try to do something that you don't have the strength in. Okay, because that's where it's like deemed and doomed for failure, because you're trying to do something that's not your level of expertise. Your strengths don't lie within that. So I try to just focus on doing what I know I can do well without having to think too much about it. Okay, so that's the one type of model that I stand by. Be very professional in or out the setting, and loyalty would show in so many different ways, and just know that people are always watching. So didn't know that until, oh, I was watching you, and from all walks people come to me. Oh, I saw you in the news. I saw you in the paper. You did? Oh, don't worry, I don't say anything, but I'm watching, and you inspire me. I did? So married to Charles D.B. King, and he is the son of Charles Terrell O'Connor King. Our story is a interesting story, but I think that's going to be for another take, another. However, we do have two boys together, and they are actually named after my great-grandfather and his great-grandfather, which are, my great-grandfather is Arthur Barclay. And prior to me meeting him, I had two girls who are, much older than the boys, and raising the two into a blended household and trying to continue the Liberian culture within the household was a challenge. But it was so much fun watching the kids who were born in the US coming with the Liberian accent, wanting to eat with their finger when they're eating fufu. My son, he doesn't want to eat anything but African food. It was one funny summer day they were going to camp. And I said, go and pack your lunch for camp. My boys came out with cassava leaf and palm butter to take today. And I said, what happened to sandwiches? They said, no, we want palm butter. We want some cassava leaf. So I'm happy that I introduced it on early on, and they continue to just embrace their Liberian culture and history. My husband is big on history, so he's constantly telling stories. So Liberian food is palava sauce. I love me some palava sauce when it's cooked just right. A lot of people like cassava leaf. I like it, but it leaves too much the grain in the teeth. I like palava sauce. You get to swallow from a Basa gift perspective. As far as recognition are concerned, I haven't received any like awards, but I have been in the media, just highlighting some of the things that I'm doing within the community. And I am a community person. I sit on some boards. I help different projects. I help with different events. However, it's just those things. I just do what I'm called to do, which is serve, and not focus on trying to get recognition for it. So during the pandemic, it wasn't something that I thought about. I wasn't trying to open up a retail shop. I worked for the mayor, so I was in public service. I worked at civic government. So for me, going from that into open up a retail shop was not in the plan. But of course, you have to shift. Sacrifices have to be made, and that was what I did. But during that moment, things shifted. The support and the outpour support came from so many different levels, which, from grants to a location, finding a location, making sure I had everything I needed to get, from the chambers coming in, bringing me the supplies that I needed to do Shop Small Saturday, from the lieutenant governor saying, I want to come out to your shop and find out what is bluffing all about. And I said, sure, come on to the Bluff Nation. So, and it's just having that level of support. They did give me a proclamation actually, of my business being here and staying course for over a year. So that was an honor to have that. Outside of that, I've taken a leadership class, and during that 10 months, I was able to expand my network, expand my community, and also expand my mind and understanding what it takes to be a leader within your community, making an impact from an economic standpoint, a cultural standpoint, a governmental standpoint, and the list goes on. So I choose to focus a little bit more on the cultural as well as the economic impact, which I've opened my shop, which allows me to educate my community as well as provide a platform that will connect the Black Americans to their heritage and their roots. So they want to know what it's like to be from Africa. They want to know the different textures. They want to know the stories through my eyes. So I use that opportunity to educate. Then you've got the flip side, which is the other races, the other cultures that don't know about our heritage and our culture, and they want to know, hey, what's bluffing? I don't know what that means. How does that relate to your business? Tell me, is it culturally appropriate for us to wear your clothes? So just having those open dialogues with folks who genuinely want to know gives me joy and gives me the opportunity to explain to them so that they could take this information and use it in the correct way. So that's what I do on a daily basis. I am explaining about bluffing and how you could take that negative, which in the US is called calling it bluff. But for us, it's the same concept, but we're using that as an empowerment tool. So, and that's what I do all day long, and I enjoy it. It gives me joy. It fuels me. And some of it makes me angry for me to advocate for change. So I do see some things that is a much need in the community, so I advocate for those. So right now they're looking at me trying to be an executive director on Main Street, which would now open doors to people who look like me, sound like me, will want to do the same thing because they're tired of seeing the same old face and they want a new face. So that's something they've been pushing me to do. And I guess all of the different steps and the path that I've taken is now preparing me to be that person. I went to Liberia in 2017, and it was a humbling as well as a heartbreaking moment for me. And I think a little bit of that also fueled where I am right now. But I've always wanted to go back. I love the country. I mean, there's work to do. But if I do go back and get actively involved, I will look more on a tourism sector, because people don't realize that is an economic impact. So when you can create the space or create that environment that people want to come and visit your country, or visit your country, I'm talking more on the countryside rather than the continent, they're bringing in new money. So you're importing new funding that will now economically impact the country to now have the funds that they need to improve all of the superstructures that was damaged during the wars and make it a more inviting place for others to come. So that will be the area that I feel would be important for me, because I want others to experience the greatness of Liberia. I was so excited to go to Barbados a few years back. My cousin was getting married. So when the invitation came out, I was so excited to go. So my dad and I went on the trip, and it was just like a really good feeling knowing that we're back on the soil where we originated from. And we went to church, Christ Church. We took some pictures, and this was our experience when we rolled up. I think the grounds were closed, right? And the groundskeeper came, said, "Oh, we're closed." And then we said, "Well, we just want to go and check out the Barclay tomb. We're the Barclays." He said, "Why do you guys want to go look at the Barclay tomb?" We're like, "We're the Barclays." So the whole family did take a road trip to go check it out. And then he said, all these years as a groundskeeper, he thought the Barclays person in that tomb was a white man. He said, "Not knowing." I said, "No, it's the black guy." So it was just fun just having to tell, who was also a black guy who was the groundskeeper, did not even know that the Barclay person, in fact, was a black man. I'm so excited that you taken on this voyage to tell our story of the Barclays in Barbados, back to America, and what we're all up to these days. I'm excited. I'm excited. Some folks can't tell this. It's still disconnected. They're still trying to piece it together. But at least I think our pieces are so much more fuller that I can tell you, hey, my ancestors are from Barbados. Others are saying, I'm still trying to find out. So I thank you for that. And there's more work to do, for that we continue telling the stories of Blacks, we continue telling the stories of Africans, and we continue telling stories of all the other cultures that live within the northern part of Rhode Island. It's not just one side of it. So that's the goal, my long-term goal. And if I can get that accomplished, then we are on to a cultural explosion around, and I'm able to make the connection. So we have to tell the stories, or else somebody else will tell it for us. And again, like somebody else said, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So I'm trying to be at the table. Sometimes in life, we just don't know why we do certain things. But what I can tell you is during revival, the pastor did say, whatever fight that you have is fixed. But you have to go through the process in order for you to know and appreciate the end result. So I may not understand what is going on. You may not know what's going on when it comes to creating this documentary, but it may be 100 years, 200 years, and how much it's going to impact someone. But it's just that seed that is just fueling inside of you that you needed to get done. And it needed to get done. Will it impact anybody right now? Maybe not, but down the line it will.